ships, you know that things are gonna get really interesting. It's just one of the things you learn after decades living on this planet.
The nuns, they feared me. They feared my stillness. To my classmates, I was invisible. I suppose that's why I was recruited. It was all considered a part of my gift. In the shadows, I became what they needed. I became their killer. But there's another that lies in wait. A hunter who's spoken of only around campfires. I know what I've done condemns me to hell. But I pray it is not a hell shared with that creature. That soulless killer. The alien boogeyman.
These pendejos have no idea who they're messing with. If war is what they want, then I'll bring it to their doorstep. When you're a veteran, when you've seen things that I have, then you become fearless. And that's something no federale, no cartel goon can ever match. I have no fear. There's nothing on this planet that can stop me. That I'm sure of.
I was once told I am a warrior born 1,000 years too late. Warriors are born, but the path to humility is learned. Many accuse me of being a man of few words, but they're blind to the price I've had to pay. the price of honor.
I wonder sometimes, in another place, at another time, what could I have become? I've been a killer for so long that I have forgotten what it means to be human. The only thing I see as I dip my mouth to the stream is a monster. A monster that became a soldier at 7. And a killer of men at 9. I am at peace in knowing the final death on this trail of destruction will be the most deserved. It will be my own. The prey begins to drop. Hunting season's about to begin.
me! Help me.
We made a very strong point of trying to stay true to the original film, which was a real jungle with real actors and a real guy in a suit. So we tried to stay true to that and be faithful to that.
What I really loved about the original movie was that it was a sort of a hybrid film. You had what started off as a traditional commando-type Arnold Schwarzenegger action film, where you fall in love with the characters and you're following them on this journey, and then it starts turning into a science fiction alien-type picture.
The first Predators was groundbreaking because nobody had ever seen like that whole like mythology of that animal in the first one was so fascinating. The fact that he could see infrared. So that's the neat thing about the first one that broke so much ground with people.
The visual effects have gotten better, more sophisticated because that's where technology's taken us. But at the end of the day, it's what is the story? Because that's really what people want to come and see.
This one we wanted to do sort of the same, go back to a character-based movie where the predators could easily just be the characters themselves. They could kill each other off before they got to ever meet one of the creatures. So we wanted to have that sort of tension within a group, uneasy alliances, and get it to a point where you almost forget that there's going to be creatures in the movie.
I'm here, kill me. Come on.
We had a few lines of dialogue and a few beats that we paid homage to the original film with. But at the same time, we did try to do something that was a standalone film. So though there are nods, we didn't want to, ride on his coattails or anything.
This planet is a game preserve. And we're the game.
Robert had written a draft, I believe, in the 90s, and based on that draft, Fox had approached two screenwriters to refresh it because all of the ideas, though very original and strong at the time, some of the ideas had been done since.
Mine really couldn't be done. It was more Avatar than Predator. I mean, there was a lot of creatures and there was a lot of things going on the planet. He wanted to take it just more about the hunt and more about the chase and more about the suspense of that. So it was a cooler direction. It was much more economical, not just financially, but really story-wise. It was more economical and cut to the bone and cut to the emotions more. So it was a good choice.
I was really in love with the concept, though, of the most dangerous game, of hunters being hunted. And I thought that was something that was very appealing. Well, this film is about predators, alien and human. I think that's what the beauty of this film is that the monster isn't who you think it is. And a lot of times we point fingers, but sometimes you just have to look in the mirror.
Quiet, we're rolling!
Gyula Padosh, my director of photography, and Steve Joyner and Kayla, we all sat down and we tried to think of other films that had epic jungle scenes in it that really visually was stunning and complemented what the story was trying to achieve. Everything from The Sorcerer to, of course, the original Predators to Arachnophobia. I think there was a wide range of films that we looked at. We all agreed that these jungles can't be the beautiful, lush, jungles that you see in Lost, or you see. We definitely knew that the jungle had to complement the predator.
I've never seen this jungle, and I've seen most.
We ended up actually doing something a little backwards for the locations guys. We sent a Texan to Hawaii to find the locations because he knows what's here that can match. So we sent Logan out there to find things that could look otherworldly, but that then could be brought this way, and along with things we could build, make it happen.
Hawaii wasn't the first choice. We looked at quite a few jungles. We explored Puerto Rico and Mexico, China even. So there was a pretty broad net cast to find this perfect alien jungle, and we ended up in Hawaii because it has a great look. It doesn't have a specific feel to it. Like it's not, you don't see it and go, hey, we're in Hawaii.
Predators 2009. It's a tough day at the office, just kind of showing up and hanging out. They have us in Hawaii. It's tough, it's really tough, but somebody's got to do it.
We ended up using Hilo, Hawaii as our exotic location because it is one of the newest islands that's been formed. It's very rough in terrain. It has a unique vegetation even from the other Hawaiian islands because of its relative young geologic age. And the parts that we went into for the jungle and that locations found for us were very alien, very extreme, very difficult to work in.
From the very early things I've done, I was always very lucky to be surrounded by stuntmen who were extraordinary at what they did. Jeff Dashnaw were just incredible, and the things that they were capable of doing and doing them safely was impressive. It was really impressive.
I'm gonna do my own stunt. Check that out. That's the drop that they're doing today. Oh my God! That's crazy.
The high fall into the water is something that I think Nimrod was very happy with that sequence. And, you know, it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me because, as far as I know, just locals in Hawaii were the only ones that ever dove that. And, you know, you hear, oh, it's 50 feet deep, 30 feet deep. And we actually went out there and it was like 12 feet deep coming from 80 feet. So we had to do a little prep work there.
I get worried about jumping into a pool sometimes, let alone jumping off an 80-foot cliff, so it was pretty impressive. You know, the fact that they were able to do the things that they did was incredible, but the fact that they were able to stand up at the end of it, you know, and give me a hug, that meant a lot.
Extra goal in! Extra goal in!
This is just like what it was like almost every day on that 70 show. So there's nothing new to me. That was so much fun. Oh my God. You know, when I read this, I thought, we're not really gonna, this isn't really gonna happen. It really happened. It's unbelievable, man. Very cool.
There were a few locations which we tried to match to Hawaii, which we actually found practically here in Texas. We also found a lot of locations that were very otherworldly, alien looking, not far from Austin. So Austin is weird.
So this is Hamilton Pool. It's a county park. It's definitely a natural wonder. It's an amazing place, and we're very lucky to be here. We had to put a lot of environmental concerns at the forefront to be able to work in such a sensitive area. And we were very lucky to have the county cooperating with us and letting us be here to film.
The problem is we scouted this location about 2 months ago, and there was no waterfall. That's the first part of the problem. The second part of the problem was it was much warmer. So suddenly, a scene that was meant to go from a very angry place to almost an intimate place has been ruined because we have, though gorgeous, but completely impractical waterfall. My actors are freezing. The sound department hates my guts because we can't hear anything. I put my DP in the water as well, so he's not very happy with me right now either. This is a tough day. I'm so proud of them. That water is so cold. Nobody would want to be there. People talk about the glamorous Hollywood life of actors. There you go.
The water is cold. My understanding is Texas is actually in the south, but I guess not. But the air temperature is much colder, so it's good. You know, I feel like I'm earning my stripes, you know?
Central Texas has so many weird rock formations, and Texas in general does too. I mean, you go to Big Bend, and it's like, whoa, what is this? And I really feel like if you're creative and you can match it and then create things on a stage that go along with the same thing, then you have the makings of pretty much being able to shoot anything here. timetable is always short. That's part of the reason we can make them for less than somebody else could have. It's a whole culture of thinking. How can we make this movie for this money, but make it huge, make it look huge? You know, this is the same budget as Sin City, but this one has huge sets and not as much visual effects. You know, this group of people just always comes up with the most amazing things, and then they just work nonstop. I mean, these guys have been working 7-day weeks for weeks now.
I think the thing about Predators that was really the kicker from the beginning was we all had the mandate that we were going to refer to the original Predator only. That's what we all wanted to do. We were really inspired by the idea. I think I watched the original Predator 7 times. I've studied every frame. John McTiernan did such a fantastic job with his team so long ago. Every scene was well thought out. Every scene had a person camouflaged in the frame. They really attended to every detail. They had great foreground images, always something between the character and the camera. I mean, everything was really structured. It had a great architecture to it. When you have that kind of challenge facing you, you want to rise to the occasion.
Steve and Kayla and their whole art department is just truly, and then they, like you said, they designed the weapons. It's a whole process. And now it's like this crazy Willy Wonka shop of whatever, you know, we can make anything happen.
Sarah is making alien chain right now. Again, you don't want anything to be human down to the smallest detail. So all our links will be made of rubber and assembled, especially for great foreground moments. You want to have things always in foreground, and this is a great way to do that, and you know, it gives a cool bit of visual interest. This is a prop that's coming up in a few days. This is a weapon that I think will be used between Royce and the Berserker. The head of the tool has to break off during a stunt, so everything has to be rigged accordingly so it can be a breakaway piece.
I think one thing that Robert Rodriguez achieved in Troublemakers is it is a filmmaker studio. And unfortunately, in a business where millions of dollars are involved and it has become very much a business, you lose a lot of the artistic process. And one thing that Troublemaker and Robert gave me was an environment in which to make a film based on what the filmmaker feels is right for the film. And that is something very special.
And then let me see where your look is gonna be. Ready? And hold it with the other hand then. Grab the leash with the other hand. There you go.
There's no studio heads down here, you know, telling people what to do. They get to come and really play, and I really enjoy hiring people to come do something different than they usually do.
I think that he was able to protect me in a way that, and it may have something to do with distance, I don't know, but I think it had a lot to do with just making sure we had all the tools and toys to play with.
It gives them a real opportunity to spread their wings and be very creatively fulfilling and prove themselves in a different way.
I got here Friday. Wow. So I had all day yesterday and today.
Jungle is
and it's nice to be
now in Texas. It's crazy.
No, I'm truly like. And outside? Oh my God.
We've gotten a very good response from the crew that actually saw the Hawaii location and shot on it. They're having a very good time reliving the hell of Hawaii.
Well, first of all, how it was realized with Steve Joyner and Kayla, they were my prop masters originally from Dusk Till Dawn on. Really terrific building props, a lot of detail, and they started growing into doing vehicles. And finally, at one point, I said, okay, I'm just going to hand over the production design to you guys from now on. And so they bring this sort of detail of prop making to their sets.
They literally think as filmmakers from the inside out. They don't think as, oh, let's make the set and then let the lights work the way they should. And they think of the lighting. When they build the set, they're already thinking about how it might be lit and how dramatic it could be for that character. So they think about the character.
So that's why everything looks just so incredibly layered and detailed. And over the years, I was always like, I like texture and Now the texture, by the time we got to this movie, texture is coming out about this much from the walls. So it builds a lot of depth into the picture and a lot of detail and just layers and layers of aging. And that really comes through in the hunting camp, where this is one of the places on the planet where the predators bring their prey, their caught prey, hang them up, torture them, skin them, do whatever it is that they do to them.
A big part of the theme that we tried to work on, and we got great help from Nimrod and our director of photography, Jula Padros, is you don't know when one environment ends and the next begins. It's like, if you look out the corner of your eye, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a tree or are you seeing a pile of bones? Where does one flicker of imagery capture you and you don't know what's happening? It kind of makes the sand shift under your feet.
We set up an environment whereas the characters aren't sure where they are. And that's actually the story structure of the film. They don't know where they are, what they're doing there, or what's happened to them. The design throughout the course of the film takes the characters on their journey as they discover more and more about where they are and what they're up against and who they're ultimately dealing with here. So it was very fun to start with a very Earth-like environment, of course jungle, and then get further and further into the alien world.
That was on me.
Cut!
Cut it!
All righty. Ali!
One of the big things that was a directive from Nimrod when we began day one on Predators was a specific environment called the hunting camp. And Nimrod's directive was, I want the hunting camp to look like a Bosch painting. The hunting camp needs to be hell.
The particular painting that I'm talking about had a busyness about it, and the palette itself was, we knew we were shooting a lot of stuff in the daytime, and that's a scary thought for someone who's trying to make a horror film or a film that has the suspense and tension in it. You know, the more you could hide the monsters in the shadows, the more effective you'll be. So we were almost going against the grain by having one of our big first reveals in the day, and that was a scary, scary idea.
Oh, shit! What the hell is that thing?
But that palette somehow, with the dark earth tones and the deep shadows, immediately inspired me and gave me a sense of hope that it can be done, it can be pulled off.
That was awesome, man. That was good stuff.
We were talking a little earlier about the look for predators. We went through as our hunting camp progressed. We took photos along the way to make sure that we stayed true to that palette. I have a couple of other examples here. A lot can happen, of course, when you add atmosphere to your environment, which you know that you want, especially when you have night shooting, jungle shooting, that kind of thing. You want all your shapes to really stand out.
The great things about this film has been working with the Hungarians, Nimrod and Jula. Jula is a fantastic DP, and he's brought Eastern European aesthetic to it, which just throws it off even a little bit more than what audiences are expecting. Right. Both Nimrod and Jula have a very creative design eye, and they've been very enjoyable to work with.
It was a scary experience for me because there was a huge set in the film, and it was something that a majority of really important scenes play out in. So it was a terrifying aspect of the process of making the film. When we initially saw it, it was still being built. It wasn't finished yet. My reaction was, oh, we're in trouble. But then we showed up the day before shooting, and of course, Steve and Kayla, along with the Greens department, had managed to dress it and to complete it, and it was stunning. It was really mind-blowing. And then, in addition, when Jula came in and lit it, it was really impressive. So at the end of the day, I was relieved. Going into it, not so much, but by the end, it was perfect.
I'm stuck in a tree! Do something!
If you insist.
Who are you? Early on, when we were talking about the options and the directions to take, we all knew The most important thing is to have someone who can act. And when you're making any film, to have a good actor on the floor, you need that. I mean, you just have to have someone who brings a certain caliber of performance.
Well, I always, just in my movies, try to just cast up, just get the best actors, you know, even if I was doing a comic book movie like Sin City, like, get Bruce Willis, get Benicio del Toro, you know, get Mickey Rourke, then it just elevates the material so much.
I want off this planet. You understand me?
It was really important for me that each character felt like they could be a star of their own movie, that they were rich enough, even if they only said a few lines, that you could picture a whole motion picture of just that character before they got to the planet, and if you were just to follow them. Then to see how they would mix together and how they would have that uneasy alliance. You put a bunch of alphas together and you get to see what happens.
If you look at Aliens or if you look at Predator, those films already had a unit that had worked as a unit and that had functioned as a unit, whereas we have a bunch of individuals thrown together who are forced to come together as a unit. So the dynamic is very different. In Predator, there was a shorthand among the characters. A glimmer or a glance was enough for one character to understand what the other was thinking and for the viewer to understand what was happening. Whereas here, we had to take a little bit of a longer route because they didn't have that shorthand. They didn't have that knowledge of one another. But that added a sense of tension that the other film didn't have.
You put us at risk for yourself. You want to be on your own? You got it.
A lot of the negative comments, I think, came from Adrian not being built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We had no intentions of imitating and replicating Arnold's character. If we would have done that, I think we would have been doing the film a disservice and we would have been doing the viewers a disservice.
Please stop doing that. There was a style of making movies, and we had big, strong men defending us, and there's something fun and exciting about that, but I think movies today have changed a bit, and we are trying to be more rooted in the reality of things.
They don't make them like they used to anymore. You look at what Hollywood is perpetuating as leading men. It's these teenagers, these like lady boys, you know? Bronson, McQueen, Lee Marvin. He was the man.
He's so badass.
With Adrian, it was a much more realistic choice of what soldiers look like today, and you can't compete with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So why are you going to go that direction? It's much better to go the other direction and do something the audience isn't expecting.
That's part of what attracted me to this, and in my preliminary discussions with Robert, I stated how I wanted to create a very flawed and tragic hero for the film, and Royce is the heroic role, but he's a dark human being.
I'm guessing ex-military. Black Ops. Probably a mercenary.
You got a problem with that?
Not at the moment.
Arnold! So board towards the front, right?
Yep.
I believe it's very rare that a filmmaker is able to present a woman in this kind of an atmosphere in a plausible way, in a believable way. I think most of the time they do look like they're props, or that they're, you know, just the love interest for the lead actor.
That was tough.
I was a bit like that.
That was okay. It looked like you were scared. It looked like something was coming at you, so that was perfect.
She not only was believable, but she was good at what she did. I mean, she clearly sold the sniper.
To be a sniper, Nimrod on top gave me a little book about snipers, and the main thing that they say is like they really need to be precise and methodic and organized. I love, by the way, thank you so much, the sniper.
The sniper book?
It's really cool because in the beginning it kind of gives an introduction of what it takes to be a sniper.
Yeah.
How they recruit the sniper, and
the mentality,
and how like you can be accepted or not, what qualities you have to have. But one of the things that is interesting that I was going to suggest you for one of the scenes is that you always have to have a third
tripod.
So maybe for that scene with the dog, if you want, we can just put it on something, the gun. I'll show you the chapter,
Okay.
Just because they say like it needs to be on something so it doesn't shake with the breathing or with the body.
I don't know if time will allow for that scene, you know, for you to prepare that much, but we'll play with it.
Who are you?
The one you don't fuck with.
Fortunately, Lawrence Fishburne is one of those actors that everybody wants to work with. He is a true artist, and in this day and age, that is unfortunately a rarity.
How do we kill them? However you can.
What's nice about this movie also is that it really is a throwback to the old Predator in some ways. The tone of it is darker, but the structure of it is very much the same. The archetypes of the characters are similar. They're different, but they're similar enough that you get a feeling like the old movie is somehow really part of this movie in a really interesting way. And my character is one of those sort of pieces that connects to the old movie.
But I'm telling you, man, Louis, shirt off, 34 degrees. And the funny thing is, in all their takes, they're usually watching one another, but that day, Louis had no love because no one was there. No, Louis was alone, so no one was witness to what the dude was doing. Okay. 34 degrees, wind machine on, getting spritzed down, and not one time did he say anything.
The interesting thing about Louis was, upon casting him, he's a young, good-looking guy, and I was initially a little concerned because I didn't know if he was going to bring the weight that the character needed to bring. Louis had a limited amount of dialogue, and it was a very difficult role to play because the actual character he's playing is very reserved. Your dialogue is taken away, your monologues are taken away, so you're left with very little to do. All you have is your eyes. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. An actor who's had so much removed, he has so little to work with, but that little thing that he does have is huge.
All right, here we go. Settle, please.
Settle.
You rolling? Hey, why don't you calm down?
Fuck you!
Hey, calm down.
Hey, fuck you!
Bring him down a little bit. Down, there you go. Hey, why don't you calm down?
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you!
Danny Trejo was who I wanted for the Cuchillo character earlier on, you know? No, Danny's fun. And Danny Trejo has been in so many films that I'm a fan of, you know? So when you actually meet him, you're just, it was kind of a geek out moment for me.
Yeah, if you got a long-term
so awesome.
Bro,
it's gonna be so fucking
bro,
It's gonna be fucking sick, Holmes. It's gonna be sick, dude. Shit. That first shot when you're coming up in a panic, not knowing where you are, man.
With two guns.
With two guns.
But Danny Trejo was one of those actors who, I mean, it's Danny Trejo, come on.
You ain't never seen no guns like this, Holmes.
Perfect.
You know what I mean?
I didn't want Danny to be in this movie. I actually thought they wrote in the script a Danny Trejo type, and I went, you can't put a Danny Trejo type. There is no other Danny Trejo, and then anybody we get is going to be a disappointment because they're not Danny Trejo.
Pinche puta! So far, I've been a culinary drawer for Robert Rodriguez. I've played every cooking utensil there is. I think we're gonna do a movie called Butter Knife, and I'll be like a kindergarten teacher or something. Hi, kids. Today we're gonna kill people. Oh, boy. That was funny.
Cut, that was great.
Cut.
Perfect. One more.
Cut. Right away. Here we go.
Good.
Come on!
We were very cautious in designing the suits to not stray from the original too much, but at the same time add elements that would make it fresh and make it modern.
There's something about the practical effects you can get and achieve that work really well with the Predator creature, and we didn't want to get away from that. There's just something that feels more real about it being there. Again, you wanted to feel like we captured these guys and put them on this planet to film them for the movie. You didn't want it ever to feel like an effect.
The first day the Predator showed up was something very special. I mean, I remember the first day we had an actual Predator on set. It kind of hit us all that, oh, wow, we're making a Predator movie. Robert had secured quite a team here, so I was able to communicate with, of course, the production designers and the visual effects supervisor and the visual effects team. We were able to start, discussing concepts and ideas for the dogs and the predators themselves.
We've worked with K&B and Greg Nicotero and those guys for so long. We have such a shorthand, There's just, they know how we work. I think most shops would have run for the hills. I mean, we prepped this film in 10 weeks. How do you go from 0 to they shoot 1 with that much work is astounding.
It was one of those things where we looked at the schedule and we just thought, God, how are we going to pull this off? Every single piece had to be created from scratch. It wasn't like you could use a hand mold or, oh, there's a creature claw over there. I mean, every single dreadlock, every single piece of jewelry, every mandible, every single element of these creatures had to be created from scratch. And we had literally, I would say, between 12 and 13 weeks. And we ended up doing between the dog creatures and there was another large alien that we created, plus multiples of each of the predators. We ended up doing 15 or 16 different creatures. Robert Rodriguez and Nimrod really were specific about wanting our classic Predator to be sort of referred to as the cassette tape and the new Predator as the iPod version. So it needed to be sleek and elegant and fierce.
We didn't have to go that far off the reservation, but we found a balance, I think, that would appease the hardcore fans, but still, get them excited about what's to come.
So there's 3 main super predators, and we're calling them berserkers because they're crazy. This is one of our current hero, Black Berserker. He's super black. He's the coolest super predator in the jungle. And then we also have a more kind of technical, streamlined version 2.0 guy. We've got a lot of talented individuals with a lot of different ideas, and so for those to come together, we're trying to deconstruct their individual concepts and build something that would be a super concept. That's the brainchild of everyone who's been working on this for the past 3 months.
I had ideas of bringing the armor closer to the body and sweeping the dreadlocks back and elongating the head a little bit so that it wasn't quite as square looking but was long and lean. And it's not always bigger is better. I mean, we really wanted to keep them sleek.
That was good. The head loll was perfect, sir. One thing in this Predator film that I don't believe the other films touched upon was the actual hunting culture, that being trapping, flushing, and driving. So the Predators have different techniques that they use in their hunting, and their look is influenced by that. We're going to be seeing a few different kinds of monsters and a few different things that we haven't seen before.
It's not even defined in the script, but through the course of the build, the first thing I said is, we need to define the characters of who these 3 guys are. The masks are what we see for most of the film, and they have a lot of personality. So the Falconer had a specific mask design, and then the dog handler had these tusks that he had taken off of one of the dogs. And then Mr. Black had this weird sort of alien jaw that was incorporated into his mask. So each one of these guys has a different personality. The suit is only as successful as 2 factors. You have to add in the performer, and then you have to add in how it's shot. And Jula has made everything look absolutely breathtaking.
Anytime you show a predator in a wide shot running around, you're taking a lot of risks by doing that. So we tried to compose it in a way where we were able to maintain a sense of mystery. I learned a lot in the process, and it was very difficult as far as time, and because you do have prosthetics and you have practical explosions going off, so we wanted to achieve quite a lot in a relatively short amount of time. When you're working with people like K&B and Greg Nicotero, who built the suits, you could just sit back and enjoy the ride. They do such a great job, and a lot of the times as a filmmaker, you're trying to fix things. You're trying to hide a bad something, you know, with lighting or adjust a performance with a cut. You know, there's a lot of tricks that you can incorporate to make something stronger. But in this case, with Greg's suits, you could literally just put the camera on it, and it was just awesome. Remember how the waterfall, we had the spider cam flying up? Yeah. So it's shifting through different POVs, and basically the bird flies into its own POV. The bird is going to carry us forward. We're going to pass the dog handler who's going to be perched on this log. He's going to be looking down. He's going to look up for us as camera passes. We're still following the bird that's carrying us. It lands right here on his shoulder. He's going to give me a small little something, you know, to accentuate the landing. And then as he looks back to his boss, and that look is going to carry the camera on, and we arrive right here for the turnaround. Right. For that iconic bitching moment. Dun, dun, dun.
What I loved about Nimrod when I first saw Control was his resourcefulness. You know, it's something that I responded to right away, coming from El Mariachi and seeing what he did on his limited budget. Very first shot, you can tell there's something going on there that would catch your eye, and you go, give this guy a budget and a crew and a property like Predator and watch what happens.
Adrian, you're a badass, bro. That was the shit. That was fucking great.
My agent called me initially and asked me if I had any interest in doing Predators, which of course I did. I was a huge fan of the film, and they told me that there was a line of directors to get in with, so I stood in line.
We had a lot of similarities in what we liked. We would walk into a room where the artist presented us with different creature designs, and the ones that, you know, at the end of the day, he gets to make the choices, but mentally I would be going, I would pick that one, I would pick that one, I would pick that one. And then I'd see him go, I want that one, that one. He'd pick the same ones. So I think we got along great that way and had very similar sensibilities. Yet I walk into a set and he's approached a scene completely differently, shooting it completely different from how I would do it. And in a great way, I'd be watching going like, damn, it's really true. You can hand, you know, 3 directors the same scene and they'll shoot it completely different from a different point of view. There's no one right way to do anything. It's just it's a vision, it's an approach. And he had a very strong vision of what he wanted to pull off, and he was doing it on a day-by-day basis.
All I can tell you guys is the only reason I can be an idiot and scream and dance around is I'm feeding off of all that energy you guys give me. I haven't been with my family for 5 months, and I feel the love that you guys give me, and I am so grateful because it goes on to the film, and everybody, thank you guys. It's really fucking kick-ass what you all do, and I want you guys to give yourselves a big fucking hand because you guys deserve it more than anybody, man. So thank you so much.
Trying to make a Predator film is stressful in itself, but trying to make a Predator film for Robert Rodriguez was a little bit, added a little stress to the mix, but he gave me all the support that I could have asked for. And when I'd freak out, and there were a few times that I'd freak out, I'd go up to Robert just like freaking out, and he'd go, dude, you're making a Predator. It's like, there's no problem here.
The problems we have that we're making a Predator movie.
Yeah. I mean, one of his best quotes was, imagine what you would have thought of having a problem like this 10 years ago. And it was really appropriate, because it did put me in my place for a moment. I just realized, you know what?
Right. 10 years ago, I thought, one day I'm gonna be just like overwhelmed on the set of a Predator movie. What a great problem. I'll take that problem. I'll take that problem right now. I'll take that problem 10 years early. I said, there's no problems, only challenges. It was a great challenge, and Nimrod stepped up, everyone stepped up out of the love of Predators. That's right. Predators.
Whenever you're making a sequel to a movie whose reputation is as widely known as Predator, if you fail, then people are going to know it right away.
It's a combination of the best of the practical world and the best of the digital world. It's a huge risk to do a scene like that.
We all got thrown into the deep end of the pool together.
If we failed in doing the Predator dog scene right, I think that there's a huge danger of losing the audience early in the film.
What's the last thing you remembered? There was a light, and then I was falling.
Where the hell are we?
Predators is about a group of elite killers who, unbeknownst to them, are transplanted from planet Earth to an alien planet.
We need to work as a team.
Does this look like a team-orientated group of individuals to you?
It's essentially a game reserve, and the Predators have been bringing nasty things from around the universe to gather here to be hunted.
They can hear you, smell you, and see you.
It's essentially a story about a bunch of predators meeting a bunch of predators.
How do we kill them? However you can.
One of the most challenging sequences in the movie is the predator-hound sequence. This group is going through the jungle, and they start hearing noises in the forest. They don't know what the sounds are, but they're alarmed.
And then all of a sudden we reveal these alien creatures with horns growing out, four-legged dogs with big giant mouths that drool and blood coming out of them.
The madness, of course, splits them up, and they all go off into different directions, running for their lives. Creatively, it's a huge moment in the film to make sure that we nailed it, because it's the first time you're going to see anything Predator-ish in the movie.
It comes with an extraordinary amount of pressure. You don't want to disappoint the fans.
The audience is expecting really high-quality creatures. It really has to be good, because if that sequence doesn't work, it can really ruin the film.
Without those dogs, you don't have a scene.
Any decision we make creatively in the film, we always asked ourselves, does this fit into the Predator universe? We sat down and we started throwing out all sort of concept drawings.
The first time that I read the script, there wasn't a lot of description about what these dogs looked like. They were just supposed to be these weird, feral, four-legged creatures.
You start with some reference of dogs and say, okay, what do we steal from the Predator world and what do we steal from the real world?
I have to really trust my gut instincts. As a fan, as a geek myself, what would I love seeing on screen?
We didn't want it to look too much like a dragon, so we played with the teeth and we played with the shape of the head.
You go down so many wrong avenues, but it helps you to get to those really cool ideas that really make that creature cool.
When the horns were implemented, you've never seen that cocktail of an animal. It makes it look more dangerous. The intimidation factor is definitely present.
When you see an alien dog with 20 horns on its back coming at you with teeth that are 7 inches long, it's really scary.
You want to shoot as much on set as possible. The more you can have on set, the more informs what happens digitally.
Though CG is incredible and gets better every day, we try to incorporate as much puppeteering and as much practicals into a scene as we can. It helps the actors most certainly. It even helps the director of photography just to see what we're shooting.
Because of the nature of these creatures that run four-legged, the idea always was to create computer-generated version for the wide shots of them running, and then when we get into close proximity of them with the actors, then we would build an animatronic. There was a lot of engineering in terms of getting the head to move right. It took about 6 people to operate it.
We probably had 2 of those dogs, and that's it. So the care that one must take for those dogs is extraordinary.
Within the Pred Hound scene, the most difficult moment was Stan's being attacked by the hound. It kind of represented, in a micro way, the entire struggle of the scene. Walt was dealing with a puppet and then the CG animal.
And they said, you want me to start operating the dog kind of beforehand so you can see its movements? And I said, no, I want to be completely surprised. And they yelled action, and the animatronics started to work, and the dog started to move its head. And you're there, then you're in the moment.
That was sweet. Let's go again, right away.
The puppet, when it was all up and running and moving and everybody was operating it, it was completely alive.
And the horns were flapping around, and I'm just sitting there trying not to get my eye hooked on one of the horns, finding a place to stab this animal. I did get scared. I got so scared that I started yelling for help. And I meant it. I actually said, help me! I'm getting attacked by a goddamn alien dog.
He gave it his all. He beat the shit out of the puppet.
And he's struggling, he's fighting, he's acting, and he goes, and literally busted the jaw. It was one of those things where I went, uh-oh. Damn actors.
Hey, Walt, how about giving it your all next time? Good, I'm good. That was great. Thank you.
On this alien planet, these people have to fear for their lives. I think all the creatives behind the construction of this scene nailed it.
I was surrounded by a lot of talented people. If goosebumps are a good gauge, then I think we're pretty good.
Looking good there, boss.
The dog attack sequence. It's a great appetizer to what's about to come.
Nine elite killers have gone missing. Who will survive?
We need to work as a team.
Does this look like a team-orientated group of individuals to you?
I was supposed to be executed 2 days ago.
And I was in combat. So was I.
Black Ops. Taking a life, it's easy. Living with the decision of taking a life, that's the hard part. We deserve to be here. All of us. Not because of what we've done, but because of what we failed to do. Somewhere along the line, we stopped being human.
What's the last thing you remember?
Falling.
This planet is a game preserve.
Step where I step. Do what I do.
And we're the game. How do we kill them? However you can. They can hear you, smell you, and see you. They learn. They adapt. You want to survive? You dig in deep.
I did not know my parents. They tell me my father was a fighter and my mother was a child bride. The day I was born was the day she died. I was raised by my sister in the refugee camps. I watched her die when I was 3. They took me that night, gave me a gun and made me a soldier.
In my culture, warrior with the greatest trophies command the most respect.
For what I have done, I will go to hell. I am not afraid to die.
I kill people for big money. This is hell.
Last time I looked, you didn't need a parachute to get there.
They're gonna say, Ministry of Defense regret to inform you that your husband, Nikolai Mikhailovich Fedorov, was killed in the line of duty defending his nation. My wife deserves better, and my kids deserve better. I'm going to die here. Tell them I'm sorry.
You know, they're invisible. They can be right in front of you. You won't even know it. I wish I could say that I don't belong here. I do belong here. Back home, I'm a freak. But here, among the monsters, I'm normal. You see, I can be invisible too. This place is a shithole.
What the hell is that thing? Everything can kill you.
Who's your daddy now?
Wish I had a cigarette. I was supposed to be executed yesterday. You know what? That means I made it.
Walter Dan's made it. I made it. You remember my name. Remember my name.
I never wanted this right. When I was young, I visited a mystic.
She said I was born 500 years too late. She was crazy, and she was right. I don't belong with you. I belong here with them. Not for what I've done, but for what I am.
Alone, they will die.
We were chosen.
Together, they will be hunted.